Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Chasing Prophecy. But before we get started with, the guests and everything and tonight's topic, I want to ask Eric, how was it playing Bigfoot? Tell us what happened.
Um, it was very warm. I will say the Amazon cooling vest did its job to a certain extent, but it couldn't combat the heat. I was in it for about an hour and a half, and you would have thought that I would have been in a dunk tank all day when I got out, but I had fun. Everybody loved it. Unfortunately, I was only able to do it for one day because I was doing third shift security and trying to do that all day with no sleep and then work all night till 7 a.m. the next morning. It just wore me out. So um, I'm going to do better planning next year. I don't think I'm going to do security again, even though it was fun. Um, it's just not something. I'm not made for third shift. This body's not built for third shift anymore.
I don't think
I love my
it
bed. I
can't
love
be.
sleep. And
Yeah, I can't.
yeah,
I can't
so,
imagine third shift. That's
but
what is
I
that?
have
Is that like midnight to 7 a.m.? What is that? Third
so
shift.
I was doing 10:30 at night till 8 o'clock in the morning.
Oh my God, that's insane.
Yeah, I was doing 10:30 p.m. to 8 a.m. every day for a week,
That's
and
crazy.
it just slap wore me out.
I don't think I can do it.
Um,
I mean, I'm a
but
big fan of. Go ahead. I'm
I do
sorry.
have oh sorry, I do have some other obligations coming up. I usually play the Grinch around December at a movie theater, and I also have a Santa Claus outfit, and I've been asked to do a sighting at a bakery, so that'll be
Oh,
kind of
wow.
cool.
Hi, Terry. I'm glad you could tune in. It's going to be a good show tonight. We're just talking about Eric was Bigfoot at a state fair. And where was that? North Carolina? Where were you at?
It
Tennessee?
was yeah, it was our hometown fair here in Stokes County.
Oh, wow. That's crazy.
This was
Yeah,
actually our 74th year that we've hosted the fair.
that's awesome. Was there a lot of Bigfoot people up there or just you? Bunny
Just me.
costume. No, just you. Any Bigfoot news we should know about? No,
No sightings other than me.
no. Well, that's good, I guess. I mean, I've been watching the skies lately. We've had some really nice weather up here in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, east suburbs. A lot of clear skies, but I want to show you my T-shirt I got, and if you're interested, it's on my TikTok page. The heck is my name? Jenna, Gemma, and I got this is a We Are Charlie Kirk, and the reason why I got that because I'm a big supporter of Charlie and it's been a crappy ass couple weeks. Look, what is he looking at? He's looking at the camera. That's what he's looking at. That's what Eric's looking at. He's looking at the camera. Your camera's up high, Eric.
It's actually right in front of me, but my screen is up high on the wall. I
Okay.
have a TV as my computer screen.
Oh, he has a TV screen. Okay, so there's a lot of stuff going on in my community. But we're gonna have a vigil for Charlie Kirk at Nicassio Fields in Westmoreland County. So if any Pittsburgh people are here, local people, if they like to attend, I'll be there. And I'm not looking forward to it, but I am looking forward to the event itself or Turning Point. So get back to the show. So I'm just waiting for more people to come on. I know it's we have to do that because YouTube is very slow going. So, but I
Hmm.
just want to tell you about our show today. Today's show touches on something that both deeply, I don't know what you want to call it, spiritual. Would that be spiritual, Eric? I don't
It
know.
can be.
Uh, It can be. And we're going to talk we're going to also talk about what's going on too with Marilyn and see if she can help us get through some of the crazy stuff that's happening and how we process. Maybe this technique can help us process pain, personal, collective, and even cosmic craziness. But in a world where where public tragedies and political division and emotional unrest it seems constant right now. And I don't know about you, but I am asking, and I'm struggling with this so much. Like, how do we rise above the chaos? How do we rise above the chaos? Is there a higher perspective that we can figure out? I mean, how do we do that? So she's going to talk about astro projection, which I have a little bit of experience with that. Not that I want to. Sometimes it just happens when I'm in my sleeping mode. But my family, my sons have experimented with this. So we're going to talk about that. And my guest today has spent decades, Marilynn Hughes, is decades exploring the deepest spiritual dimensions of reality. I know that sounds really deep, but it is. She does out of body stuff, and she has 90 books. Now I'm having a hard time just writing 2 or 3 lately. So, and she's a lifelong teacher of travel, mysticism, and spiritual transformation. So we're going to talk to her about how out of body experiences can help us understand grief, anger, healing, and even what goes beyond death. And not just the concepts, but as a personal and transformational experiences that she might have. So we're going to talk to her about that. So whether you're feeling a little overwhelmed right now by the world, I know I am. Seriously, I am. I was just talking to my friend Terry. I mean, I feel overwhelmed about everything. I mean, you turn on the news. I don't know about you, Eric, if it's affecting you, but when I turn on the news, it's like always on me. It's like it splashes into my subconscious and I go to sleep and I think about it. And not only, like we were talking about it last week, how Charlie Kirk's murder came up on my feed. I didn't want to see it. It just popped up, not once, but 3 times. It's like, what do you do? I mean, just turn off the phone, shut it off. I don't know. What do? Do you turn it off? Do you even go on social media? Eric, are you still there with us?
I do, but I'll be honest with you, I don't watch the news.
No, you don't watch the news. See, I watch it
I
because
just
I want to
can't.
see what's going on.
It's too much for me.
Yeah.
I'll pay attention to certain things that people post on social media, but other than that, I don't dive into the news. I just can't bring myself to do it. I know the world's in distress, the world's in chaos, and it's going to be that way for as long as we're here on this earth. I don't think that's ever going to change, just because there's so many different people from so many different walks of life. It's like I refer to it as those reality shows they used to have on MTV, where they'd stick a bunch of people from different personalities in one house and expect them to live together in harmony. You can't do it.
Yeah, you can't do it. Okay. So I'm going to ask Marilyn to come on. I want to make sure if she can hear me. Okay. If you can't hear me, just shake your head. Yes or no.
It says in the comments she still can't hear
Okay.
anything.
Okay, we're going to use my phone to bring her on. So, Marilyn, welcome to Chase and Prophecy.
Hi, thank you for having me.
We're glad to have you. When I was just talking to Eric about how do you deal with what's going on. So before we get into all that, let's get into a little bit about, how you got started in your work. Is this new work? This out of body experiences that you're talking about in astro projection.
No, I've actually been doing it for over 40 years. And my first experiences were about 51 years ago, actually. So it's been quite a long time. I started working and writing 40 years ago. So long time. It began, I would say, the first experience I had was when I was 9 years old. And then I started having the experiences return in my adulthood when I was around the age of 22. And that was around 40 years ago. So at the age of 9, I had a beautiful experience where the clouds just began to swirl and move and sway. They turned this beautiful bluish, gray, white. It was like a thunderous uprising in the heavens. You could hear it, you could feel it, and you could see it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And as it moved and swayed, it parted ways, and a beautiful marble staircase from earth to heaven appeared. And on each side of that staircase, there were golden angels all the way from the top to the bottom. And at the top of that staircase were two golden thrones, one for the Father and one for the Son.
Oh.
And in that experience, at that time, I was given a lot of information, but the essence of it was to let me know that this type of experience would return to me at a later time, and that I had a certain type of calling that I would fulfill at a later date. And part of the purpose of this was to put out the fire of ignorance and bring people back to the awareness of God. And then in my early 20s, I had my first spontaneous out-of-body experience around the age of 22. And they started with the basic types of out-of-body experiences that you hear about, just your general, falling out of your body, seeing yourself from the top. But they quickly progressed to so much more, where you're traveling beyond the astral realm, which is the fourth realm, into higher and higher and higher realms of light and life, going into higher and higher spheres of existence, being taught by a variety of different types of spiritual teachers and beings, and eventually, learning about and traveling to the heavens, hells, and purgatories, learning about ghosts and lost souls, learning about the angelic and the demonic realms, and basically learning the entire mechanics of existence, so to speak, at least in terms of what we can comprehend in our small human way. Because there's, the one thing you learn right off the bat is whatever we may be able to understand, there's always so much beyond what we can understand. And so that's kind of what began the journey.
Mm-hmm. Well, let me to ask you, what exactly is a out-of-body experience or body travel? Is it the same thing as astral projection? And how did you come into this path? I mean, how did you know you could do it? So let's start with what exactly is an out-of-body body travel? I keep calling it it's like, is that the same thing as an out-of-body experience? I don't know.
Well, out-of-body travel, out-of-body experience, astral travel, astral projection, these are terms that are used kind of for a similar experience. If you want to get almost like theologically correct, I can be a little bit, precise. The only real difference is that when you're talking astral projection or astral travel, you're speaking specifically astral. So astral refers to a particular realm. There is an astral realm, and that's the fourth realm that overlaps the third dimension, which is where we reside in the physical world. So, to be more precise, I call it out-of-body travel or out-of-body experiences, and many people do, because we're talking about multi-realm travel into many infinities. So not just the fourth realm, but literally anywhere in the cosmos.
Okay, so we're in the third dimension, and so when you do how do you know what realm you're in? Like, is there like a sign that says you're in the fourth realm versus I know that sounds crazy, but like, how do you know what realm you are?
It's a good question, actually. So what usually happens, sometimes there are signs, but that's not usually how you find out where you are. But sometimes there are little signs here and there. But most of the time, the way that you find out where you are is from an influx of the Holy Spirit as you are traveling. Going back to the other question you asked, which is what is it?
Yeah.
It's when your spirit separates from your physical body and travels outside of it into the spirit world, the realms of the afterlife, as we might call it. But, I call it the realms of light and life, because the realms of the afterlife are actually a very living place. And so you might go to a place and then you are going to be infused. It's going to be given to you. A lot of times you have a spiritual teacher or spiritual guardian or an angelic host who is with you, who is going to inform you of where you are being taken and what the purpose of it is and all that sort of thing. And there are many different types of realms. So the difference, like, the astral realm, that's overlapping the third dimension. So third dimension is a mortal realm where we have the battles between good and evil that rage. And those battles rage inside of us and outside of us and all around us in this world. So you'll see a lot of that in the fourth realm as well. That as you go into the higher realms of light and life, you're going to have a very different experience where you're dealing with the higher gradations of light, going into higher and higher experiences of God and of vibration and frequency. And then when you're traveling into more of the immortal realms, because we have others, we're not the only one, and those can be called purgatories, you're going to experience a lot of different things which have to do with the purification of souls. So things that souls need to undergo in order to remove darknesses, impediments, things they don't understand, things that they are holding on to that are holding them back from moving forward. And then there are lower and lower spheres, and there are gradations of that too, and those are the hell realms. And so they all have all kinds of different characteristics as well. And when you go to these places, it is given to you either from the person, the host, the spirit that is taking you there and teaching you, or it is infused into you by the Holy Spirit when you are traveling.
Eric, does this make sense to you? It does. Do you have anything?
So it is actually interesting. If I could, I know it's a science fiction film, but if you're familiar with the movie Doctor Strange,
Eric, just
Okay.
sorry.
Go ahead,
oh,
Eric.
she can't hear me.
She can't hear you. I'm
Oh,
going to
I'm
try
sorry.
to. Go ahead. Good.
Okay.
I'll relay it.
He actually learns how to navigate the multiverse as far as taking his spirit out of his body and traveling through different
And what
multiverses.
What movie is that?
That was called Doctor Strange. So that's
Okay,
kind of like what I feel like it is when
Go ahead.
when you feel yourself lift out of your physical body and you can see yourself still laying there, but you can move around these different, I guess, universes, if to use a phrase. It is very beautiful. You can change things, you can move around, you might see things you've never seen before, and then you can actually bring yourself back to your body. So it's almost like a dream, but it's it feels very, very real, if that makes sense.
He's trying to use an example of Miss Doctor Strange and how Doctor Strange in this movie that he would go to different levels, different dimensions,
Universes, yeah.
Universe. So he said it's very spiritual and given like that. Sorry, I have a little bit of a cold.
No worries at all.
Now, how do you know when you're doing this? How do you know? How do you know you're not going to actually leave your body and never come back?
A lot of people ask that. I think that's probably a common fear. I think I'm starting to realize that. I'll tell you why. It's kind of hard for people to put this together. But one of the things that I've learned over the years is that people are doing this at night, and the angelic realm is working on us subconsciously, unconsciously. And I've watched this. where they'll let me follow them and watch them as they work on souls subconsciously, unconsciously. They know what kind of tweaks each one of us needs.
Mhm.
They just do this. And so what happens here is we're not doing something new. We're becoming aware, consciously aware of something we're already doing. By bringing that to a conscious level, we become more able to integrate the wisdom and the knowledge from the experiences into our physical waking experience. So the reason we know this is because this is actually part of the mechanics of our existence, that as human beings and even, animals in the animal kingdom, we all have this sleep cycle. And during that sleep cycle, the angelic realm is hard at work, working on us, and we have these experiences. Most people do not remember them, and some people may have more experiences, some people may have less. It's all very different for every individual. But when people become interested in this and stuff like that, part of what's happening is something is encouraging them to bring that conscious awareness to the surface. So you're not doing something that's not already.
I'm sorry, I just had a cough. Yeah,
That's all right.
that makes
That's all right.
sense. So what's the difference between dreaming, lucid dreaming, and an actual out of body experience?
The difference is the level of consciousness. State. You're going to hear the jet engine noises. You might hear the voices, which are all of these thoughts of humanity. Because what happens is you're switching gears from your physical vibration to your spiritual vibration. Spiritual vibration is much higher than your physical vibration, and so you have these experiences: vibration, jet engine noises, heightened vibration. You hear the thoughts of humanity because you've touched into the spirit. And then you're going to have whatever the particular experience, rolling out, willing yourself out, or just finding yourself out. It's going to be so conscious and vivid. You will know that this is what has happened. Is that helpful?
Yeah, it is. It is helpful. Yeah, I always wanted to do it, but I'm a little scared to do it. Have you done it, Eric?
Yes.
You have. What was your experiences like?
And I've actually had to be pulled out because I went too far. My wife actually had to kind of spiritually come over me and pull me back out because I was going in too deep.
Well, that's kind of spooky. I don't know if I'd want to do that. I would be afraid not to come back. I know some people say that they tell about the rope. You tie your rope around you. So it's supposed to help you. It's not real rope. It's like it's your imagination. But I don't know if I'd want to do that. That's just. I don't think I'd do that. I'd be afraid. For my luck, I'd get stuck.
Part of the reason to do it, and this is no pressure whatsoever, but part of the reason it's a useful tool in the spiritual journey is because out-of-body travel disassociates you from your physical consciousness into your spiritual consciousness. And by so doing, it accelerates your spiritual path by eons if you are willing, and you're willing to surrender to the power of God as he moves you through it. And part of the reason this is so is because you're moving from the physical to the spiritual.
Mm-hmm.
So what this means is that you become more teachable. Say, for instance, you have, first of all, you're going to have the ability to travel to all these realms, but you're also going to have the ability to travel backwards and forwards in time to previous lives. And so you can see places that you've been to before, and you see patterns of life and behavior, and then you start seeing where you might be getting caught up.
Yeah.
And then what happens is, as the if there are things within your character, within your soul,
Mm-hmm.
or obstacles, things like that, it can be shown to you not only intellectually. It's not like it's just, this is what you need to do. You experience it energetically. And by experiencing it energetically, you become capable of shedding that vice, block, or that hindrance very quickly, whereas you might spend 20 years working on it if you're just doing so in the physical. So it has this highly accelerative aspect to it, and this is part of the reason it is so useful as a spiritual tool in the process of our purification as souls.
Mm-hmm. That's amazing stuff. I still don't know if that's I mean, I personally don't think I would want to do, but let me ask you this. How is this different than remote viewing? I mean, can you
Very different.
Very different.
Yes, for those who are interested, I actually wrote a very explanatory book with this, about this, because I am also a remote viewer.
Oh, okay.
And a lot of people think that they're the same. They'll say that they're the same, or
But they're not.
whatever. And they're not. They're not at all. And but remote viewing is a process. It's a procedure, and there's all these different things that you specifically do. And it's more of a psychic process, a subconscious process. You're utilizing your subconscious, sometimes psychic gifts, and you're writing all these things out. It's a much different thing. Out of body travel, you're actually, traveling to celestial realms and, heavenly cities in the galactic heavens. It's very, very different.
Very different.
So, yeah, I have a book. It's called Out of Body Travel, Remote Viewing, and Astral Travel, Definitions, Similarities. It's something along those lines. And it explains it lays it out step by step, how they're done and why they're different. And then you can see, they're both excellent and valuable tools, but they're different tools.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I'd like to. So if you've done a lot of that remote viewing, that's something you do, right? All the time, or is that just something? Did you do that for work for certain law enforcement?
I did that for a few years, and I did a lot of training, and then I made a decision that it wasn't really something I was going to put a lot more energy towards, because this is really what I'm called to do.
Okay. Now, when you say you do, what do you do when, you astro project. Okay. Now you're saying you're called to do it. Are you meeting other people? Can you meet other people while you do this while you're astro projecting? Could you meet up with other people?
Yes.
Have you done that?
Many, many, many times.
Well, tell me how do you know? Does that other person, do they recall it too? I mean, is it something that hey, listen, I saw, was that really you? Does that make sense?
Well, I think what you're talking about is a little different than what I would approach. You can do that. There are people who do that. And yes, I have people where we have met up and we both have memories of it. But more importantly, I'm more likely to go meet someone's deceased family member.
Okay. So you're using it. Okay. That's what I know. I understand.
But I don't do that intentionally. It's something that if there is a message that needs to be shared,
Mhm.
that person might seek me out, or I will more likely be having experiences wherein I will be meeting with like the spiritual teachers, or in my case, a huge part of my calling has included the prophets, saints, mystics, sages, and ascetics from the world religions of all around the world, and all traditions and etc. And I have been led and guided by all of them, and their saints, and had amazing experiences with that. So I think what you would be looking more for is the contact that I might focus on would be with people who are in the afterlife, because remember, people are deceased who are, they're not dead, they're just people in the afterlife, or in the worlds of light and life. So those are the people I might have the most contact with over there. Now, in terms of having contact with people in this world, there is something that is called the alteration pathway, which I wrote about in great detail in a book called Medicine Woman Within a Dream. And there is a process that we undergo and we're trained for, wherein we're called in to actually help with the angelic realm in working with souls who are still incarnate here, and souls who have just crossed over, who have just died, and souls who might be ghosts or lost souls who need assistance in crossing over because they're stuck. And then we'll be called in to do things to assist those souls, either who are incarnate here, that we are going to make certain adjustments with them in their reality to help them either to avoid something that it is hoped they will avoid, because it is not necessarily the highest outcome for their life. And so we're trying to assist so that they will make a different choice, or that they will be able to avert a certain kind of disaster, or even avert death at a particular moment if it's not something that is for them at that time. It's not necessarily the highest good for them to go out at that time. There's all kinds of reasons. A lot of times it has to do with, drug use, relationship issues, people who are just stuff that people are doing in their lives, and you're trying to offer aid to assist them to overcome it so they can go to the next step. People who are lost souls and people who have just crossed over, they just usually need some help to get them to the next step, so you can hand them over to their angels, who will then take them to the light. And they just need someone with a physical reference point, because they are kind of stuck in that middle place where their vibration is not quite high enough, where they can they're just stuck. They can't see their angels quite yet, but they do better if they have some assistance from someone in a physical flask. And then, you give them a few little adjustments, and all of a sudden the heavens open up and they can see it. And once they see it, they don't need you. They immediately go to their angels, and they go to the light with their angels. And so there's all sorts of scenarios. That's why I've written so many books,
Eric, do you have anything to say, add to this for our audience and people out there?
I'm loving every minute of it. She's spot on about everything.
Okay, well, what I have to add is, like, how do you know that when you're astro projecting that you don't come across like a demonic entity instead of an angelic one? Like, how do you know the difference? And I mean, what if there is a demonic presence? What do you do when is there a way that you can tell them to leave you alone, or can you protect?
There's all sorts of,
you can protect yourself.
Protect yourself.
Well, what I was going to say is there's all sorts of dark and demonic entities that are out there, because we do have a cosmos where, like I said, there's heavens, hells, and purgatories. And so there's a whole a whole section, lots of sections in my books about dealing with spiritual warfare with different levels of beings. You know, sometimes when you're just dealing with lost souls, it's kind of a bit of a warfare. And then when you get to the demonic, then you're really dealing with higher level warfare. We recently released a 2-part documentary film, Spiritual Warfare, Angels and Demons, Preparation, and then Combat, which goes into a lot of detail about all this. But my books also obviously cover a lot of that because that's what we based the documentaries on. There are a lot of things that we can do to protect ourselves, and a lot of that is going to be prayer. And one of the things that I discovered early on was that a lot of the prayers that are the most effective in the mystical sphere are ironically Catholic prayers.
Mm-hmm.
So they're going to be things, well, the biggest one would be the Our Father. The Our Father, the first stanza of the Our Father especially, is profoundly powerful as an exorcism prayer
Mm-hmm.
for the demonic. And if you actually listen to that prayer, Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. And these were the words of Christ. And when you bring those words down, you are literally removing the dominion of the demonic in that particular interaction. But there are a lot of different things. One of the little ones, like for instance, I was shown that just using the simple 2 words of Christ crucified and repeating it over and over, that literally burned the skin of the demons.
Wow.
Yes, and there's a lot more that the Apostles' Creed
What
is
about
very effective.
St. Michael prayer?
St. Michael prayer, the Hail Mary. And one of the things I wrote about later on in my writings was, it's interesting that in my travels, I've learned that, when you are in a pickle, when you're in a spiritual warfare with the demonic, the person you call is Jesus Christ. And
That
you might call
works.
the
That
Blessed
works.
Mother and St. Michael, but you're always going to call Jesus Christ because that's where the power lies against the demonic realm. There's a reason why when things get really tricky, people have to go to a Catholic priest or an exorcist because they have the anointed hands
Mm-hmm.
to handle that type of thing. And so there is such a thing as, the anointed prayers and the understanding of what's anointed in the spiritual realm. I also do a lot of things, and I recommend to a lot of people that you always have like a crucifix over your bed, and you do some things with holy water, things like this. These are just some of the basic things that you can get started with. But there's a lot of guidance in my books where you learn a lot about what is it that what's going on with the demonic realm. What is it that brings them in? And I'll tell you another secret is that a simple thought of a vice, it gives permission, gives dominion, just like a simple thought of a virtuous thought gives permission and dominion for that same angel of virtue to reside around us.
Mm-hmm.
So too does a simple thought of a vice give permission and dominion for the demons of that vice to be around us. And so we don't think about how much by our words and our thoughts we are creating what is around us and what is influencing us, and how important that is. And I know that we were planning to talk a little bit about just the climate of the country, and that is part of what we are dealing with, because right now it is a huge spiritual warfare that we are dealing with.
It is big time. Yeah. So getting over to that part 2, how right now, like you said, the world feels heavy. It feels heavy, and people are angry and grieving and divided. And how can an out of body experience or mystical practice help someone navigate that emotional chaos that we're all feeling right now?
Well, first, I'd like to go ahead, if you're okay with it, and share a vision. You know, a lot of the people that I have come and read my books and stuff, they become mystics themselves. And one of my mystics had a beautiful vision about Charlie's soul, and I would like to share that.
Yes, do. I would appreciate that.
Yeah, and then we can, talk more about that. So this is what she experienced. She said, as I left the body, my spirit rose into the vast sky. Higher and higher I ascended, watching the city below diminish until it became but a whisper of light upon the earth. Carried upward on unseen currents, my soul was drawn into prayer, my voice lifting in hymn as I sang the rosary. Soon, another soul came alongside me, joining in the sacred melody, guiding me deeper into the song of prayer. In that ascent, I offered fervent prayer for the soul of Charlie Kirk. An unseen presence came near, his spirit radiant with peace. It was revealed to me that his passing was not an ending, but the final holy work entrusted to him by the Lord. Joy and serenity filled my soul, and I was led to chant the Divine Mercy Chaplet in his honor. When I returned, my spirit did not cease in prayer. I gave thanks to God for the gifts of this night and lifted up his family and all those who grieved his departure. In this prayerful state, another vision opened before me, the globe of the earth, turning in darkness. From its shadowed form, a luminous crystal blue sphere emerged, shimmering with countless sparks of light, the flames of faith. Through his death, these sparks had been kindled in many hearts, each glowing like a star upon the world. In that moment, it became clear to me that everything had been divinely ordained in this case. Charlie's passing at such a young age was not without purpose. It was the very spark meant to awaken the light in countless souls. There was no other path by which it could be accomplished. I was also shown that his wife, too, had been chosen and trusted to carry his torch forward and continue the work into the future. The vision was breathtaking, steeped in beauty and peace and the power of God. And in its radiance, I remembered Charlie's cherished words, which were echoed into my soul as I was flying through the stars. Here I am, Lord, use me.
Wow, that's amazing.
So, what it shows us, a few things. First of all, it gives us a little glimpse into that world of light and life, and that purpose can be greater than we can understand. It shows us that the divisions that divide us here on earth are nothing really in the light of the bigger plan that God has placed forth and has in mind for the bigger plan, all of us,
Yeah.
And the one thing I would say, because it's hard to explain, because people get so caught up, and this is part of the reason when we talk about those demonic battles,
Mm-hmm.
People have gotten very, very caught up right now in how they feel. And I do feel that there's a really simple question that people need to ask, which is, does anybody deserve to be murdered for what they believe? Or are we a free society who allows people to have differing viewpoints and differing worldviews? And if the answer is no, people should not be murdered, then there is nothing that goes beyond that,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because it doesn't matter if you agree with Charlie Kirk or if you agree with somebody else It doesn't matter what you feel about any of it. People get caught up in their feelings. They don't even realize that what's happening there. The demonic realm is inciting people.
Yeah, it is. It's everywhere, and it's I just can't believe all the stuff I see on social media. I mean, I have a vigil. Well, I'm not planning it, but it's at the venue that my family owns, and it's for Charlie Kirk. And we posted it on a number of the local pages, and some of the stuff that they're saying, like it's horrendous. It's like, what's wrong with these people? Are they all possessed by demonic forces? I mean, some of the stuff that comes out of their mouth.
I do think they need to stop and they need to ask themselves some of those questions. And one of the things that people need to ask themselves is, what happened to the time? I'm old enough to remember that when you hear about somebody who was unjustly shot down, that you didn't maybe agree with or didn't like at all, you felt it to be tragic. And it didn't matter that they didn't agree with you or you didn't agree with them. You grieved for them. There is a basic goodness that has been lost, and people are not understanding that this attitude that is happening, whether it happens on one side or the other, is demonic, and it is sparked by the dark side. And they need to stop themselves, and they need to ask, does it matter how you feel about how anyone thinks? The only question is, does anybody deserve to be murdered for what they believe? And if the answer is no, there is nothing else to say. What we feel is irrelevant. It doesn't matter if you agree. It doesn't matter. And so when the anger comes up, you have to ask yourself, where is this coming from? Where is this coming from? Because it's not coming from God. It's not coming from his holy angels. It's coming from below. And something dark is taking a hold of you because your basic humanity has been manipulated.
Yes.
You don't have to agree with it. In fact, the crazy thing about this is the idea that people have developed over the last few years that each and every one of us has this like sovereign right to judge everyone else, and that our individual judgment is correct and true. And how arrogant are we to think that?
Yeah.
So we like to judge other people by the worst things that they've ever done, by the 6 seconds we can find. But we don't want to be judged that way, do we?
No, it goes back to the old.
People the way that we want to be judged.
Yes, it goes back to the old. Like, do unto others as you want to have them do unto you. Goes back to that, and I don't know. It's just there can't be all that. So there's so many of. I mean, it's that many evil forces that are just taking over souls. It's like, my God.
And part of the deal too with that is, one of the things that Charlie Kirk did represent was he did go out and he very skillfully actually would try to explain his own views from his Christian beliefs and why he believed what he believed. And then he would try to understand what other people believed from their belief systems. And then he would also try to explain, well, why does our worldview or his worldview over here contradict from our worldview over here, or this worldview? So like the Christian worldview versus maybe an atheistic worldview. And he would say, well, this is why we differ. And part of the problem has been people want more than understanding. They think that if he's just telling them this is why we believe what we believe, that's not good enough. They're saying you must accept and do and be what we have decided is acceptable. And that is not respectable dialogue.
Mm-hmm.
He's trying to explain to them, we have a different worldview, they have a different worldview. This is the difference. So this is our cosmology, this is your cosmology. And obviously, if you have two different cosmologies, one based on a God, one based on no God, they're not going to agree. And so people are not even using their most basic reasoning skills. Obviously, they should not expect to agree with someone who is trying to explain to them a worldview which involves the belief in a God and a worldview that involves a belief in no God. That's not the goal of this dialogue. The dialogue is to help them understand the difference. This is why we believe what we believe, and this is where it's different. This is why we believe what we believe, and this is why it's different. And the point of it is not to force one or the other to adopt the other's view. The point of it is to allow the opportunity for people to understand one another better.
Okay. So you totally believe that humanity right now is going through a collective awakening, or is it just a spiritual crisis right now?
Oh, I think there's both going on. I think there are people that are experiencing what this person saw in terms of the light coming on, and people who are being awakened. And then I think there are others who are succumbing to lower forces. And I would like to appeal to those who are succumbing to lower forces, and I would like them to consider, do you feel hatred, rage? You cannot feel sympathy, love, or compassion for someone who's been brutally murdered, and all you can do is focus on the fact that you don't agree with them. Then you need to
help.
take a look at what is controlling you, because it is not something from God. It is something from below. And that's just the God honest, sorry, difficult truth that you need to do and look at. And you have to stop. You have to stop. And you have to ask yourself, why am I so enraged?
Mm-hmm.
Why can't I generate the slightest bit of compassion? What is going on? Who's got a hold of me?
Satan, most definitely. So, have you had an out of body experience that revealed anything about our current global state, or what may come? Have you ever had any recent
I've
thing like
had a
that?
lot of those, but I've also had a lot of our members have had a lot. And, I think what I would like to go to that I think is the most visually explicit and makes people see it the best is one of our visionaries has had several visions about the evil waters. And the waters are coming in, and they are literally destroying everything in their wake. The waters are caustic, and everything they touch is destroyed and rots and is taken down. And anything that any person or thing that comes in contact with it is taken down by the dark side, the evil waters. And it's just coming in so fast that all we can do is do what we can to preserve the light. And you think of these evil caustic waters and how they are consuming the minds and hearts of people all around the world, in our own country, and how people are not even aware of it. and actually celebrate things like hatred, murder, the kinds of things that I did not see when I was younger. People were not doing these kinds of things. There is an energy that has changed, and it comes from a lack of discernment, a lack of real interior retrospection. People are not doing the inner work that they need to do. And they're not thinking when they just listen and listen and listen. They're not actually thinking and listening to what is it that I'm hearing, and is this true? Is this true? Because, you know, what's true does matter.
Yeah. In the last few minutes we have, I just want to ask you, can anyone learn to travel out of body, or is it something reserved for only mystics and spiritual adept people?
Well, a lot of people can. Not every person who seeks to do it will have success. But what I've definitely seen is a lot of people can, if they have the correct intentions. And, you know, those intentions have to do with, you know, seeking the holy will of God, being in a state where they want to know what the truth is, regardless of whether or not that's the same as what they currently believe, and they're willing to be taught and corrected by the Spirit and by the Lord, the Spirit of the Holy Spirit. And when a person is in that right space, and when they have that right temperament and they do the practices, a lot of times they do find the experiences do eventually come to them. And they're life changing, because it's what happens is we are shown what everybody needs to be seeing, which is what is the darkness within ourselves. We need to stop being angry at everyone around us. We need to start doing the work inside.
Most definitely. How does this astral projection or outer body, how does it differ from like meditation? Isn't it the same, or is that just a deep, really deep meditation?
No, meditation is meditation. And like I said, out of body travel is when a soul actually leaves the body and travels the other worlds, the heavenly spheres. Meditation is a huge part of the actual practices that I recommend to people as part of process to achieving out of body experiences, but they are different and separate practices.
Okay, now how can, like, I want to get your book and I want to read it because I want to learn more about it. So where do I go to find your book, your books? Put it that way.
There's it's at outofbodytravel.org or astralprojection.co. And if you're starting out, you want to start with The Mysteries of the Redemption, a treatise on out-of-body travel and mysticism, and Come to Wisdom's Door, How to Have an Out-of-Body Experience. You can also try the new book that I put out, which is the complete guide to out-of-body travel and astral projection. It's in the new series, but there's a lot of books there. So if you have any issues or questions, you always just email me at Marilynn Hughes at Out of Body Travel. I've written 140 books on the subject, so there's a lot to choose from. You can download the books for free. You can also buy them. And we have films, and those are also, you can watch them for free, as well as, you know, if you want a copy, you can purchase them. But so we have films on how to have an out-of-body experience, the grand phases of the soul, a lot of different things. Just go to the YouTube channel for all of that.
Here you go. Any final thoughts, Eric?
I think it was a really wonderful podcast. It was very informative tonight. I was glad to have Marilynn on.
Yeah, it was very interesting. So I just have one bonus question for that. We're doing I'm trying to do every end of show. And here's a bonus question for it. If you lost all your spiritual experiences tomorrow, what part of your faith or inner knowledge knowing would remain?
It would be my faith in God and my faith in Jesus Christ, which will always be strong and was strong long before I had the experiences and would last long after.
Amen. Amen. Yeah, I think that should be top. That should be top. So if you guys have any questions or comments, you can leave them in the comments this is recorded on the later. And if you can find her books on her website. And if you want to know more about this, I definitely would email her. I would definitely do that. And I just want to let everyone know that my books are available from the Sky Saga, Moon Dust, and Rocky the Rockefeller Christmas Tree is available coming up for Christmas. It is in Amazon. So if you'd like to be a guest on Chasing Prophecy, drop me an email at chasingprophecyradio@gmail.com. And if you would like to start your own podcast, you can go to Oracle Talk Radio Network at gmail.com. It was a great show tonight, guys. I'm glad you could be here. We'll see you next week. Thank you so much, Marilynn, for being on the show.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to Chasing Prophecy Radio, where nothing is beyond the scope of normal. Be sure to check us out on Facebook and YouTube for past episodes, live streams, and more. And if you'd like to be a guest or reach out, email us at chasingprophecyradio@gmail.com. Until next time, keep looking beyond the shadows